Ninjalens.
Time.
Dilul, it is time for you to rise. Dilul, awaken! Ah, Dilul, it is good to see that you have risen.
How long? Oh, how long was I asleep for?
You've been asleep for 5 years.
That long? I usually don't sleep that long.
Yes, it'll take you quite a while to get used to being awake.
What happened to my hair? And what happened to my staff?
I'm not sure about your staff. It could have been swept away by the weather or maybe stolen by hooligans. I'm not quite sure what could have happened to it.
And I suppose the hooligans did this to my hair as well?
Well, the hair, I thought you were looking a little scruffy, so I decided to shave you. You look nice now.
You gotta be kidding me. Why'd you even wake me up? How am I supposed to style my hair with this?
You have been awakened to perform the ultimate task.
Are you sure? What about my staff? Can I borrow yours?
No, you may not have my staff. It's mine.
Thought not. I'll get to it right away.
Oh, great. I got water and mud all over my good pants. Ugh. Been a good clean.
Konnichiwa, ninjas. It's me, Ninjalens, bringing you another terribly paced video.
Ninjalens,
Dilul!
stop. I have a much more important duty.
What are you doing here, Dilul?
It is time.
Are you serious?
Salutations, warriors. I am Dilul. My purpose on this earth is to spread the love, the joy, and the truth of the Nintendo Gamecube. And today, on this spooky time of year, I'm going to be talking about Luigi's Mansion. The Nintendo Gamecube was probably my favorite console of all time. It was actually my first ever console. It came out in 2001, and I got one for my 12th birthday in 2007. So how did this console shape so much of my childhood? Well, maybe if you didn't continue to interrupt me, I would tell you. I mean, seriously, I was in the middle of a story. When I was a little boy, I went to daycare, and I went to a very, very cool daycare. They actually had a GameCube there for us to play. There were an insane amount of rules surrounding it. You could only play for like 5 minutes at a time. I broke them all, obviously. We worked out a system. I don't even think it was a thing that we could actually do, but I convinced the other kids to give me their time so that I could finish Luigi's Mansion. There was no memory card. It was impossible to defeat the game, and I got so used to the first little bit of the game. I actually wound up buying my first ever memory card. This is it, actually. There are a lot of stories about this daycare, but since we're talking about Luigi's Mansion today, on Spooky Halloween, I'll focus on Luigi's Mansion related stories. I actually bought this memory card way back in 2001, 2002 with the little allowance money I had. And I didn't own a GameCube, and I had a memory card. I remember my dad asking me, because I actually had a Game Boy Advance. I got one of those when I was 8 years old. That was the first console I ever owned. It was the first video game device that I ever owned. Then I got an actual console. I mean, I wouldn't, is the Game Boy a console? I thought it was like a handheld, but whatever. I remember my dad asking me, so do you put the memory card in your Game Boy and use that to save your games? And I was like, well, I had to explain to my dad, well, you see, I used this memory card to play the game for 5 minutes at a time at school, and I invested a large amount of my allowance into that. So, this console shaped so much of my childhood, even though for most of it I didn't own it. Now, to be fair, the Nintendo GameCube did not have the best launch titles. It had very few good ones. We had Luigi's Mansion, skateboarding game, and Melee. All great games, but to be totally honest, that's not enough to give a console a head start. A great console needs a lot of great games. Now, even though Luigi's Mansion is probably one of my favorite games of all time, it'd be dishonest for me to ignore the fact that it had a hand in the failure to launch of the GameCube. The Nintendo GameCube came out in November 2001, and it had a very sparse lineup of launch titles. Two of my favorite games of all time were launch titles for the GameCube. But let's be totally honest here. They were weird. Super Smash Bros. Melee, even though it was a sequel, it was still a really weird fighting game. Most people didn't understand it, and to this day, people love Melee. However, to this day as well, there are a lot of people who really disrespect Melee. Among these very sparse launch titles, there was this beautiful, unique game, Luigi's Mansion. And to be fair, I can kind of understand why people don't like it, or at least didn't understand it. The GameCube did not do very well, particularly due to its very sparse launch titles, very few and far between games. There were many different reasons. One of the big ones is that it definitely seemed like it was aiming more for children with its design and the games that were launched on it. Later on, we did get some more mature games, but honestly, no one remembers the GameCube for having very mature games. Even Nintendo in general, they haven't had much mature games. Everybody was freaked out when Bayonetta came on the Wii U. And Luigi's Mansion actually played a very big role in the subpar sales of the GameCube. You see, I loved the GameCube. The GameCube is probably my favorite console of all time. And Luigi's Mansion is probably one of my favorite games. However, let's take a look at this in terms of a launch title. Mario, not in the game. A lot of people consider Luigi the crappy version of Mario. I disagree 100% with that. Honestly, Luigi is my favorite character in this series. Whenever I wanted to play Super Mario World 3, I was always player 2. Because some girl was always better than me, and I was desperate to try and play, to try and impress her. But she was good at the video game, and I sucked, and I was bad. It's impossible to talk about Luigi's Mansion without bringing up Super Mario Sunshine. Honestly, it seems like they were like tie-in games. They were supposed to be part of the same universe, like packaged together, marketed together, but honestly, they were separate releases at very different times. Luigi's Mansion was a launch title. Really weird. Honestly, I would have gone with Super Mario Sunshine. And Super Mario Sunshine came out later in the console's life cycle. An ultimate complaint that I do see from people, and I kind of understand, is that Luigi does not move dynamically. And honestly, it is incredibly weird trying to defend this, because he doesn't. He does not move dynamically. Like in Saints Row or Mario or Super Mario Sunshine, an obvious example, Mario can jump, flip, do wall jumps. When you're trying to move large distances, you can entertain yourself with the idea of flipping, jumping, other things you can do. You also move very quickly, and there's other ways to speed yourself up. Luigi's Mansion, he moves slowly, and he moves at a static speed, and there's not much to do other than vacuum, which slows you down. However, I'd like to point out, he moves in a way that I really wish characters would move in Resident Evil. Yes, a lot of this game feels like a horror game done right, but not scary. It's kind of weird. A Nintendo GameCube launch title actually has some of the best horror mechanics I've ever seen in a game. That's not me trying to say that the game is terrifying or anything like that, but he has the best horror mechanics. Luigi moves slowly, like most people do. It gives you a sense of powerlessness. The camera doesn't not move. It's not static like in Resident Evil, which provides clunky gameplay. The camera moves slightly when it's important to do so. This game was programmed lovingly to get a very amazing horror aspect to it. After I played this game, I was a Luigi guy. Whenever we played Mario Party or Smash Bros. Or any other Mario game where you play as different characters in the Mario universe, I remember that I didn't have any strict affinity for any characters. Sometimes I was even a Waluigi guy. Seriously, yeah. But after I played Luigi's Mansion, I was a Luigi guy. I was a huge fan of him after that. I like characters who are scared of things, because as a real person, I'm scared of real things. I'm a real human being, and real people are scared of things. It's also the reason why I love Finn from the Star Wars The Force Awakens. He's afraid. I'm afraid. We're all afraid. You should be afraid, unless you're an idiot.
It's a scary world we live in.
Can I have my show back, please?
No, this is important.
I love the designs on these ghosts. They're wonderful. I may be blinded by nostalgia, but I'm looking at these and they're very colorful, they're very unique. They look like a combination of very stereotypical ghost decorations. They're beautifully colored, and then they all have this very unique trait design to them. I really appreciate it. Now, the human ghosts are hands down amazingly designed. I don't think anybody can argue with them. They're unique, they're quirky, they're funny. I love the ghost designs in this game. It might be nostalgia goggles talking, but even now, looking at these ghost designs, I really appreciate them. They might be simple, but they're very expressive and very unique to each other. I see a lot of really overly detailed but very boring ghost designs. These I really appreciate, specifically the non-portrait ghosts, because they're simple. They're not so detailed that they look stupid. There's this one thing that I always wondered about, even as a kid. Like, are the paintings that came turned into ghosts? Or are they ghosts that he forced into paintings? And I actually was flipping through the instruction manual, and I found the answer. According to this, they were ghosts in the first place, and he forced them into paintings. That kind of means that Egad took sentient beings, which are either dead human beings destined to be trapped forever in paintings, or monsters of some sort, and he's locking them in an eternal painting. I mean, it's one thing to be in a cage or be killed and eaten, but I mean, like, just lock him in a painting? You're in existential dread. Can you think even? I mean, like, are you dead? Is it practically like being dead? Or can you realize it and you just can't move? Is it like when Plastic Man was spread all across the world and he was tortured and then he came back dark and gritty? Don't look at that's actually the thing that happened. Just look it up. Plastic Man, funny guy, Tom Kenny. Tormented across the sea. I'm like the collector. One thing I love about this game is its atmosphere. It's got a really amazing atmosphere.
The art design, the atmosphere, and the music all work together to make a really amazing game. I see a lot of people arguing whether music should be iconic and memorable, or should simply fit the atmosphere and not really stick into your head. Well, Luigi's Mansion kind of did both. After one session of playing the game, I already can't stop whistling the theme. But I also just can't ignore how atmospheric all of the music fits into the game. I really feel that dark, spooky vibe.
I like to differentiate this between scary and spooky. Scary is tense. It makes you on edge. It's watching a movie where you're anticipating a jump scare, or you're watching a really scary, horrifying scene, psychologically or just thrilling. Spooky is an atmosphere. There's might be a mild scariness of it, maybe a little bit of on edge, but for the most part, it's just kind of this atmosphere of being in the dark, being surrounded by ghosts, death, and scariness, and just being at peace with it. I love playing this game in the dark. I love Luigi's Mansion. It's not my favorite game, but maybe one day I'll talk about my favorite game of all time. It's also a Gamecube game. Who knows? Only time will tell.
Alright, you can have your show back, for now. But I'll be back when the time comes. Alright, I guess it's time for me to return to the shadows of the internet. But on the flash of the camera, I will return to the light. Ninja out!
Thanks for watching this video. Let me know if you liked it. And if you could leave a like or a share or a comment on it, I'd really appreciate it. It helps me out a lot. You can also check out my last video over on the left right there. It was about One Punch Man. And if you haven't gotten enough of Luigi's Mansion, you can check out my second channel. I'm 5 episodes in to a Luigi's Mansion Let's Play. And I'll be starting a new gaming series where I upload every other day a new gaming video there. You can also subscribe. Alright, go outro music!
Subscribe to the Ninjalens channel, and your life will get 4 times better.